Welcome back. In this class, we will discuss about an important topic called the sampling distribution. In the previous class, we have already defined the term population and a sample. Here we are considering a special type of sample called a random sample. For defining sample distribution, we have to consider the definition of population again. And we know that a population means it is the totality of all characteristics under study or the collection of all numerical values under study. So, by referring to a population fx, we shall mean that the population is described by the probability density or the probability distribution fx. A random sample of size n is modeled by n random variables x1, etc. xn. And for a random sample, this is a random sample. We can classify these random samples as random samples taken from a finite population of size say capital N, size capital N, or the random samples may be taken from an infinite population. Suppose from this finite population of size capital N, we are drawing a sample of size n. So this sample of size n constitute n values, say x1, etc. xn, and these values are the corresponding values of n random variables, say x1, etc. xn. That means any subset of n values x1, etc. xn taken from this finite population of size capital N is called a random sample. And similarly, for an infinite population, say the infinite population is characterized by the corresponding probability density or the probability distribution, say fx, and we say that a random sample of size n, x1, etc. xn is said to be a random sample of size n if each of these xi follows the same distribution as the population, say fx, and second one, all these random variables xi's are independent. So these are the definitions of random sample for finite population and infinite population. Another two important definitions are parameter and statistic. Any function of population values is called a parameter. Any function of population values, that is called a parameter. For example, population mean mu, or population standard deviation sigma, etc. That means any values computed from the whole collection of data, that is called the parameter value. And for statistic means, suppose we have a random sample of size n taken from a finite population or infinite population, and corresponding to any set of sample of size n, we can have a random variable. For example, suppose we are computing the sample mean x bar for different sets of samples of size n, and sample standard deviation or sample variance s square, etc. And all calculations are based on this selected random sample of size n. So any function of sample values is called a statistic. So examples of two statistics are sample mean and sample variance. So we are going to discuss about the distribution of this statistic. So statistic means any function of sample values. So x bar can have a distribution. So similarly, the sample variance is another statistic. It can have another distribution or any different type. That means any values computed out of this sample values is called a statistic. So that statistics can follow some distribution. We are trying to find out the distribution of the sample mean and sample variance. And this statistic has some distribution because each of the values of this calculated figure, that means sample mean, can be treated as a new random variable. For example, for a finite population of size n, we can draw a sample of size n, and in how many different ways we can draw samples. That means different sets of, that means any set of n values taken from this population capital N constitute a random sample, and out of a particular random sample we are calculating one value for this sample mean. So it can be taken as one statistic, we call it as a random variable, say t1. and corresponding to another set of a sample of size small n taken from this population. Again we are computing the sample mean that will follow, that can be taken as another random variable, say t2 etc. for different samples. That means suppose we are taking m samples, so we can have t1 t2 etc. tm as the another set of random variables. That means these sample means constitute a new set of random variables, and these random variables follow some distribution, and we are trying to find out the distribution of that sample mean, and that distribution is called a sampling distribution. Similarly, for different sets of samples of size n, we can compute different figures for sample variance, and each of the computed answers can be treated as a new random variable, and if we find the distribution of that new random variables, that means the new sets values for sample variance, it will constitute a distribution called a sampling distribution of the sample variance. So we can illustrate the previous concept with the help of some example. Suppose we are considering a population with the probability distribution fx is equal to 1 by 10, 4x is equal to 0, 1 to etc. up to 9 equal to 0. Otherwise, this is called a discrete uniform distribution. Here the population is discrete uniform distribution. And from this discrete uniform distribution population, we are drawing a sample of size n, sample of size say 10, and 50 such samples are taken. So we are taking 50 sets, and corresponding to each of the 10 sets of samples, random samples, we are evaluating the respective means. Suppose the means lies in the interval 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6 and 6 to 7 with the different frequencies. Suppose the sample mean for a sample of size 10, out of these 50 sets, suppose 2 to 3, the sample mean or x bar value lies in the interval 2 to 3 for 2 cases. Suppose this is for 14 cases. Suppose this is 19, suppose this is 12 and this is 3. So we have a frequency distribution. So these are the values of sample mean and these are the frequencies. And for this data we can draw a histogram. That means for the class interval 2 to 3, 3 to 4 etc. up to 6 to 7 with the different frequencies, we can draw a histogram. 0, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So for 2 to 3 the frequency, so along the x-axis we are taking the sample mean and frequencies are taken along the y-axis, frequencies. So 2 to 3 we have the height, say suppose this is the height 2, and another for 3 to sample mean values in between 3 and 4, 14 cases. Suppose this is the height of 14, and another for 4 to 5, 19, then 12, then 3 cases. So by observing this histogram, we can see that the sample means are modeled by an approximate distribution. That means the frequency curve, if we draw the frequency curve of this distribution, so what is the shape? This is nearly a bell-shaped curve. Okay, so we will get a clear bell-shaped curve whenever we are increasing the sample size. So for 10, instead of 10, suppose we are taking 20 such samples, samples of size 20 and 50 or 100 cases etc. Then 30, 40, 50 etc. As this sample size increases, we can see that these histograms approaches to an approximate normal curve. And this is a very fundamental concept called the central limit theorem. See, we have taken the sample of size 10 from a discrete uniform distribution where each of the values has the same probability, that is 1 by 10 because it is a discrete. So the probability mass functions are 1 by 10. But for the sample mean, if you take the sample mean and if you are considering each of the sample means as new random variables, the new random variable says sample mean x bar is approximately normally distributed, because the curve is the histogram. From the histogram we can draw a frequency curve, and that frequency curve has approximate bell shaped, or majority observations are clustering about the central value, and this central value is taken as the mean value with some dispersion, and dispersion is the population standard deviation, say sigma. And this concept is called the central limit theorem. So the central limit theorem says that whenever we are taking a sample of size n from any population, the population may be uniform distribution, Poisson population, or exponential distribution, etc. For any distribution, normal distribution, etc. For any distribution, the sample means are approximately normally distributed. Now we can define the very important theorem called central limit theorem. If x bar is the mean of a sample of size n taken from a population having the mean mu and variance sigma square, then the new random variable z is equal to x bar minus mu divided by sigma by root 10 follows normal distribution with mean 0 and standard deviation 1 as n tends to infinity. Or we can say that x bar, what is the distribution of x bar? X bar follows normal distribution with the mean mu and standard deviation sigma by root 10, n mu sigma. Similar to n mu sigma, we have n mu sigma by root 10. Here, note the point, the samples of size n, that means a random sample of size n is taken from an arbitrary population. From any population, with the population mean mu, the value of population mean is available, and the population variance sigma square is also available. Then the sample means are asymptotically normal. That means when n is very large, the sample means follows the normal distribution with the mean mu and a standard deviation sigma by root 10. So using this central limit theorem, we are suggesting this sample mean x bar as an estimate of the population mean mu. So this is what is happening in a very statistical inference. So in any statistical inference, the population parameters are suggested from a proper sample of size n taken from that population, and instead of the population value we are suggesting a best estimate of the corresponding population parameter. So here instead of the population mean mu, we can suggest x bar as the estimate with the reliability. The reliability measure is called standard error. The standard error is sigma by root 10. So that is a measure of reliability with which we can predict this sample mean as an estimate of the population mean mu. See, as the sample size increases, we can see that this standard error also decreases. So with the minimum error, we can predict or we can replace the population mean mu with the sample mean whenever the sample size n is very large. So this is the first sampling distribution. This is called sampling distribution of the sample mean. Means the sample mean follows normal distribution with the parameters mu and sigma by root 10, where mu is the mean and sigma by root 10 is the standard deviation. Where what are mu and sigma? Mu and sigma is the respective parameters of the corresponding population. Population mean mu and population standard deviation sigma. Then the sample mean has the standard deviation sigma by root 10, and that quantity is taken as the standard error. Next, we are studying the sampling distribution of the sample mean into two different cases, for large sample and a small sample. For large sample and a small sample. So, what do you mean by large sample and a small sample? Suppose the sample of size n is greater than 30, we taken it as a large sample, and if it is less than or equal to 30, usually we call it as a small sample. Okay, so all the studies or all the inferences we are drawing out of samples depends on whether the sample size is large or sample size is small. For large sample, we have two different cases: the population standard deviation sigma known and sigma unknown. Okay, for large sample, sigma known case and sigma unknown case. For sigma known, the sampling distribution of the sample mean x bar follows n mu sigma by root 10 because all the parameters are available. Population mean mu is available and the population standard deviation sigma is available. Or we can standardize this as a new random variable. Z is equal to x bar minus mu divided by sigma by root 10 follows n01. So this is the first case. When the sample size is large and population standard deviation is known. If population standard deviation is unknown, what we will do is we are replacing this sigma by the sample standard deviation. What is a sample standard deviation? Sample variance, we know the formula for sample variance. Sample variance is equal to 1 by n minus 1 into sigma xi minus x bar the whole square. Xi minus x bar the whole square, where I runs from 1 to n. And that sample standard deviation, we are replacing this sigma with the sample standard deviation, that is x bar follows n mu s by root 10. Okay, or z is equal to x bar minus mu divided by s by root 10 is asymptotically normal n01. So this is the second case. Second case, whenever the sample size is large. But if the sample size is small, we cannot replace the second part. That means whenever the sample size is small and population standard deviation is unknown, the distribution may not be normal distribution. So we will discuss another distribution called the student's t distribution. So the student's t distribution case arises when we are predicting the sampling distribution, or we are finding the sampling distribution of the sample mean for a random sample of size n drawn from a normal population. Here we cannot have an arbitrary population. Here it must be a normal population. Samples are drawn from a normal population with the population mean mu and sigma unknown. Then we can have the random variable say t. T is equal to x bar minus mu divided by s by root 10, where s is the sample standard deviation. This follows a new distribution called the student's t distribution with the parameter nu is equal to n minus 1. This parameter is written as nu. So t is equal to x bar minus mu divided by s by root 10 follows student's t distribution with the this n minus 1 is also called n minus 1 degrees of freedom, because we can have, because we are drawing a random sample of size n and we are computing the sample variance. So what is the degrees of freedom? So we have totally n minus 1 independent observations, independent deviations. So the degrees of freedom is n minus 1. So the degrees of freedom always count number of independent observations. So this is a graph of student's t distribution or t random variable. It is approximately same as the normal distribution. It is also symmetric about the value t is equal to 0. But this height is different. For standard normal distribution, this value corresponds to sigma is equal to 1, or the 1 by root 2 pi is the total height. Here the height may be different, depends on the different values of the parameter. So this is the function ft, and we are plotting the corresponding random variables along the t random variables along the x-axis direction, and the different curves obtained for different values of nu or the degrees of freedom. See, as the degrees of freedom changes, this curve has different shapes. Okay, and we are computing the probabilities as the tail probability. Say this is the ordinate t alpha and this probability is alpha. So we are computing the t probability so that probability that t greater than a random variable value t greater than t alpha is equal to alpha. So these type of predefined area computations are available from the t table. So similar to the standard normal table, we can have another table called the t distribution table, where all these probabilities are given with respect to some degrees of freedom. Sampling distributions of the sample mean say x bar. What are the possible cases? Suppose we are drawing a random sample of size n from any population with the parameters say mu and population mean mu and population standard deviation sigma. Then the first sampling distribution is x bar follows n mu sigma by root 10. N mu sigma by root 10, or z is equal to x bar minus mu divided by sigma by root 10 follows standard normal distribution. So this is the main sampling distribution. And the second case, whenever sigma is unknown, this is for sigma known case. If sigma is unknown, whenever sigma is unknown, we can have two different cases. So this is also true for any population with the population mean mu and sample variance. What is the sample variance? The sample variance is S square. With the sample variance S square, for large samples, if the sample size is large, that means n is greater than or equal to 30. For n greater or equal to 30, the sampling distribution of the sample mean is x bar follows normal distribution with the parameters mu and s by root n, or z is equal to x bar minus mu divided by s by root n follows n01. So this is the second case of sampling distribution of sample mean. Sigma known case, sigma unknown, large sample, and sigma unknown, that is a third case, sigma unknown and a small sample. Sigma unknown with the sample size is n is less than 30. So then we can depend on, instead of the standard normal distribution, the sampling distribution will be a new distribution called the student's T distribution, and that T distribution case arises if you are drawing samples from normal population only. So if you are drawing samples from a normal population with the mean mu and the corresponding sample variance is S square, then we can have T is equal to x bar minus mu divided by s by root n. So this standardized variable is follows a new distribution called T distribution with n minus 1 degrees of freedom. So that is a very important concept. The sampling distribution is sampling distribution of the sample variance, and here the case is if S square is the sample variance of a random sample of size n taken from a normal population having the variance sigma square. Here also we are specifying the point the samples are taken from normal population with the population variance or standard deviation known, then chi square is equal to, a random variable is defined as chi square is equal to n minus 1 s square by sigma square. N minus 1 s square by sigma square follows chi square distribution with the nu is equal to n minus 1 degrees of freedom. And this chi-square statistics, see this chi-square is, it is the square of the Greek alphabet called chi, read this as chi squared, and we can draw the graph of that distribution or the probability distribution chi square, because here all the values are positive values. S square, that is sample variance, and the population variance are all positive values. This chi square doesn't assume negative values, so all the probability density or the probability curve lies to the right of the x-axis. So these are the values of chi square random variable, and the corresponding f of chi square is plotted along the y-axis, and the random variable values are plotted along x-axis. And we can have different shapes for this chi square distribution, depends on the parameter nu is equal to n minus 1. As the sample size changes, this shape also changes, and the probability values are given by the chi square table. Suppose this is some ordinate, say chi alpha square, and these tail probabilities are given in the table, chi-square table. So the probabilities are computed so that probability that the chi-square random variable exceeding a value, say chi-square alpha, is equal to alpha. So these tail probabilities, these probabilities are given as alpha. So in computations involving the sample variance, we will use the corresponding chi-square distribution. Another sampling distribution is associated with the ratio of two variances. Here we are considering two random samples of sizes n1 and n2. If s1 square and s2 square are the variances of independent random samples of size n1 and n2 respectively, taken from two normal populations having the same variance, then the ratio of the variances denoted by capital F is equal to s1 square by s2 square is a new random variable. This follows a distribution called F distribution with the parameters n1 minus 1 comma n2 minus 1. These are the degrees of freedom, n1 minus 1 and n2 minus 1, pair of degrees of freedom. Here also the values assumed by this random variable say capital F are positive, so we can have a graph of this F distribution similar to the chi-square distribution. The F values are plotted along the x-axis and the corresponding function values or the densities are plotted along y-axis. And suppose this is an ordinate called F alpha, this is 0, and F alpha, F greater than this F alpha. So the probabilities are given in F table, so that probability that this F greater than this ordinate F alpha is equal to alpha, corresponding to the two degrees of freedom n1 minus 1 and n2 minus 1. For F distribution with this tail probability alpha, this is the tail probability alpha, we have an equation that is F1 minus alpha of n1 minus 1 comma n2 minus 1 is equivalent to 1 by F alpha of n2 minus 1 comma n1 minus 1. So sometimes we can use this formula for the F probability computations. We have discussed all the sample distributions, and from the next class onwards we will see how can we apply these sample distributions in statistical inference. Thank you.